What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm not here to waste time, so once again, if you are not a fan of the words GOAT, Raw, Fire, or Peak Fiction, go ahead and click off. There's gonna be a whole lot of that because this game, Trails from Zero, is unironically one of the greatest games I have ever played. And I'm not saying greatest as in it's my favorite Trails game so far. I mean greatest as in I'm putting it on the list right next to Ys 9. I know I've said it with the last two games about how they're peak fiction and all that, but this is something else entirely, man. The 60 hours I spent playing this game, meeting these new characters, walking around Crossbell, hearing the music and doing all the side quests were some of the most enjoyable moments of my life. I'm genuinely shocked at how much I love this game, man. And now I get to share my feelings with you. So let's get to it. So the first thing I really want to talk about is actually Crossbell itself. Going in, I honestly didn't know what to expect this time around, since Sky the Third was pretty much a dungeon crawler more than anything. But I swear, before the prologue even ended, I was already really loving the vibe of Crossbell. It just feels completely different from anywhere in the last three games, and running around exploring the city for the first time was really fun. At a glance, I already had the impression that the city was pretty big, but as I continued to explore, I just kept seeing new areas again and again. It felt like every turn I took led to yet another part of the city. Even when I thought I had finally seen everything, I'd end up discovering some other part of the city that I didn't even think I could go to. Just being in the city felt so nice. Even when I eventually unlocked fast travel, I'd still just end up walking from place to place, cause I enjoyed just being in the city that much. Not to mention, it seems like there's been a pretty major advancement of technology in the world of Trails, unless Crossbell was always this advanced. I mean, for one, there's the Orbital Network, which is basically the internet. Unless I'm misremembering, there wasn't anything like this in the last games. On top of that, they've basically got cell phones too, which I only remember Oliver having something similar. I guess that means Erebonia is pretty advanced too. Oh, and don't forget, they've even got cars in Crossbell. And not just cars, buses and trains too. Even the military had their own cars. Seeing all this stuff for the very first time was insanely cool, man. And speaking of new stuff, I have to talk about the gameplay. Cause man, for being the exact same series on the exact same console, the new additions in Zero genuinely made the gameplay feel completely fresh for me. I honestly thought it'd just be the same as the Sky games, but the moment I did the tutorial and the game told me you can hit the enemies on the field, man, I already knew this game was gonna be gas. That always felt like something you should have been able to do in the last games. And even if it is a pretty small addition, I appreciate it nonetheless. It actually made getting into combat more fun, and I ended up fighting enemies a lot more often, instead of just running past most of them to get to where I needed to go. On top of that, the actual combat, even if it was pretty much the same as before, still felt really fun to play. The new team rush thing you get mid-combat or when you ambush an enemy was also really cool. It definitely came in handy whenever I needed to grind.
Wait a minute, Team Rush is just an all-out attack from Persona.
Estelle, we do not reference Persona when talking about Trails, you know this. Look, there's definitely some comparisons you could do, but I'm not doing any of that. I don't need to compare this game to any other series for me to explain my thoughts on it, cause I love the game for exactly what it is. And speaking of things that I love, the next thing I want to talk about is the characters. Cause man, I really didn't expect to end up loving all of these characters so much. First up, the SSS. I can't lie, at the start of the game, I was kinda neutral on them. Yeah, I thought their designs and weapons were pretty cool, but other than that, I wasn't really feeling anything. Well, that was my thoughts at the start of the game anyways. The SSS actually grew on me pretty quickly. By the end of the prologue, I was already leaning more to the side of thinking I kinda liked these guys a lot. And that feeling only got stronger as I continued playing the game, getting to know everyone a bit better, seeing how everyone interacted with each other, and of course, getting into tons of battles. As the final chapter got closer and closer, that feeling of not wanting the game to end eventually came to me. Like, I know this arc doesn't end with Zero, but at the same time, it's not like I could immediately go into Azure. I mean, I had to make this video first. Anyways, my love for characters doesn't just stop at the SSS. There's really a bunch of characters I grew to like or straight up love while playing the game. Wazzy, Noelle and Fran, Ilya and Rixia, Lecter, Arios, and of course, my GOAT, my queen, the greatest to ever do it, my wife, Sonya Bales. I'm definitely not biased from a previous character or anything like that. Anyways, moving on now. It'd be a crime if I didn't talk about the music in this game, cause once again, they cooked. I swear to God, playing this game and hearing all the music for the first time was an insane experience. There's genuinely so many times where I heard a song and just put my controller down, locked in, and listened to the music. Real talk, man, the battle themes and boss themes were genuinely amazing, and so were the dungeon themes. In fact, they might have been the best in the series so far. Same goes for the town themes and definitely the field themes too. Those were really good. And of course, once again, we cannot skip over the opening. Real talk, I'm starting to think Falcom just doesn't know how to make bad music. Everything has been amazing so far. And speaking of stuff that's amazing, the last thing I want to talk about is the story. Gonna put a spoiler warning here just in case. If you haven't beaten the game yet, now is probably a good time to click off. Don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the video though. Alright, back to it. So, the story. What did I think about it? After 3 back-to-back amazing stories, did Crossbow somehow surpass them? Look man, you saw the title, you saw the thumbnail, you already know what I'm about to say. The story in Trails from Zero is actual, genuine, honest-to-God peak fiction. It's not often that a game can hook me in so easily from the start, but man, Zero did it really well. Like, something was going down every chapter. And even when the serious stuff died down for a bit, you'd still have thoughts and questions to keep in the back of your mind as you went into the next chapter. And speaking of serious stuff, the game handles it really well. Infiltrating the mansion during that auction had to be one of the best parts of the game for me. Like, you learn about the crazy illegal stuff that's going down in there, but at first you have no way of getting there. The police already know what's happening, but they're not able to do anything, so what could we do? But the moment we got those invitations, I already knew what we had to do. Speaking of the auction, I kinda wish I picked Ellie and not Randy, cause, I mean, damn. Anyways, moving on. That whole auction chapter was just amazing, man. Like I said, you know what's going down, but once you're actually there, you kinda just have to explore and lay low until you get a chance to find what you're looking for. And man, once I got to that room and found Kia in that suitcase, and then when we had to actually escape from the mansion, I was on the edge of my seat that entire time. Every fight, every cutscene. This game was so good at just making me feel suspense. There's not a lot of games that have done that for me, but man, when I tell you, this game does it so well, and it was really surprising to be honest. And speaking of suspense, dude, that final chapter had to be one of the best finales in the series. The city gradually getting overrun with corrupted CGF members, being held up at the IBC, fighting wave after wave after wave of enemies, and don't even get me started on that final chase scene, dude. That had to be one of the greatest things I've ever seen. And even after all of that, after beating the final boss and having things seemingly go back to normal, the job's not finished yet. Remnants of the DG cult could still be out there, and for all we know, they could be using Geonosis too. So, just like the game told me, Trails from Zero reached its conclusion, but the story isn't over yet. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. 4 games in, and I think the series just hit its peak. I'm telling you, I never got bored while I played this game. The 60 hours I spent were nothing short of magical. I loved literally everything about the game. The story, the gameplay, the characters, the music. It was all great, and it came together to form such an amazing experience. I really didn't expect anything to surpass Sky the Third, but this series continues to reach new heights time and time again. Anyways, that's enough talking for me. I could be playing Azure right now, or maybe I already am. But really, that's all for me. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like and maybe subscribe too. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.